welcome into Texans Today, everybody. I'm your host, Jeremy Chuggs, and coming up on today's show, scouting the Jacksonville Jaguars. They have a couple holes that I think the Texans could definitely exploit after their Week 2 loss up against the Cincinnati Bengals. They lost 31-27 in Week 2, going to 1-1. So what does that mean for the Texans, who are going to be facing their AFC South foe here in Week 3. Before we get started, I want to take a little trip down memory lane. If you remember this play as fondly as I do, go down and hit that thumbs up icon. Like the video if you remember Andre Johnson galloping into the end zone for an overtime touchdown over the Jaguars. Honestly, one of my favorite plays in Texans history. I remember him running straight to the crowd, jumping in to the crowd, and everybody going crazy at what was Reliant Stadium, now NRG. But if you remember this, if you're a real one, go down and hit that thumbs up icon. All right, let's look at my notes from Jags versus Bengals. I rewatched the game. I rewatched their Week 1 game up against the Panthers as well. And here's my notes that I have from it. First off, Trevor Lawrence and his wide receivers are disjointed. They're not on the same page right now. And one of the biggest issues has been Trevor Lawrence and his accuracy. You see his stats up against the Bengals, 24 of 42, close to around that like 50 completion percentage mark right there. 271 yards, 3 touchdowns, and 2 interceptions. And it's not just me who's noticing this. You might have seen this on social media. This interaction mid-game between Trevor Lawrence and Liam Cohen. Liam Cohen looks at him and he says, "Bro, throw it at his chest. He's wide open." Trevor Lawrence gives him this. Says, "Hey, leave me alone." Now, I'm not trying to read too much into it, but I'm a Texans fan, so I'm going to read way too much into it. Liam Cohen and Trevor Lawrence hate each other. I'm kidding. But there does show a little disconnect between head coach and quarterback when they can't have a conversation mid-game, and it seems like Cohen seems to be a little frustrated with Lawrence and and this has been Lawrence's problem since he's been in the NFL. It's consistency. He makes great plays sometimes. And then, kind of like you saw Liam Cohen hit him like this, he doesn't hit the wide open man in his chest. So it's going to be a real kind of interesting take to see what Trevor Lawrence do we get for Week 3. Do we get the good Trevor Lawrence, or do we get the one that we saw up against the Cincinnati Bengals? And I actually asked around the office, and I got a lot of wildly different takes on this. So go down in the comment section and you let me know. Rank Trevor Lawrence among NFL starting quarterbacks. 1, you think he's the best, better than Mahomes, Josh Allen, Lamar Jackson. 32, you think he's absolutely the worst. I'll give you my answer after this YouTube ad break. Go down and give me yours right now. Rank Trevor Lawrence among NFL quarterbacks. I'd probably have him at either 16 or 17. I think he is as middle of the pack as it gets right now for NFL quarterbacks. He's obviously a starting level quarterback, but is he going to be a guy that he's the reason why you win? That's the big question. If you're in the top 10, you have to be the reason why your team is winning games. And ever since the Jags stunned the Chargers in that playoff game where they came back, I believe it was 28 points down, I haven't seen a game where Trevor Lawrence has won the game for the Jaguars. He's been in the driver's seat. He's kind of steered the ship. But him taking control and being the main reason why the Jags have won, I haven't seen it since that Chargers-Jags playoff game. Number 2, and it kind of goes with my first point, Brian Thomas Jr. has yet to show out. 5 receptions through 2 weeks. And just the switch up of Jags fans is crazy because I know this is probably not the, majority of Jags fans, but I've seen people already saying Brian Thomas Jr. is a bust. He's out. I'm out on Brian Thomas Jr. Weren't we saying in the preseason and training camp that he was one of the top 3, top 4 receivers in the NFL? Weren't all y'all saying, Jags fans, that Brian Thomas Jr. was better than Nico Collins? And yeah, he got 12 targets, only 4 receptions up against the Cincinnati Bengals, who, I'm sorry, they're not known for having blanket coverage in their secondary. They're not known for being one of the top secondaries in the NFL. I'm not out on Brian Thomas Jr., but I think a lot of people were way too early on the hype train to anoint him one of the top receivers. I would still take Nico Collins over Brian Thomas Jr. All right, the run game for the Jags, and this has maybe been one of their sneaky biggest strengths this year. They got a little thunder and lightning going down in Jacksonville right now. Travis Etienne Jr., the former, I believe he was first-round pick out of Clemson, Trevor Lawrence's teammate with the Clemson Tigers. He's looked good this year. 14 carries, 71 yards, 2 receptions, and a receiving touchdown up against the Bengals in that Week 2 loss. He was doing it on the ground and on the air. You can also say that about his teammate, Bashal Tutin. 8 carries, 42 yards, 2 receptions, and a touchdown as well for him. And this is the main reason why you saw the Jags feel perfectly comfortable trading Tank Bigsby to the Philadelphia Eagles. They love what they have in Bashal Tutin. He has been a spark plug, almost reminds me of a Darren Sproles out of the backfield. Can catch the ball, is very shifty, has that quick explosion as soon as he gets the ball in his hands. This is going to be a big matchup with him up against Texans linebackers, or maybe even Jalen Petrie in that big nickel. It's going to be a big, point of emphasis for DeMeco Ryans and this Texans defense to stop these running backs for Jacksonville. And the Jacksonville offensive line has looked halfway decent this year. Their starting unit, Walker Little, who actually played football with his brother in high school from the Houston area. Ezra Cleveland, Robert Hainsey, Patrick McCarry, the big free agent that they signed from Baltimore this offseason, and Anton Harrison at right tackle. This Jags offensive line has done really well. They've protected Trevor Lawrence. He only had 1 sack against them up against Cincinnati, and being able to move some guys off the line of scrimmage and get that run game going. It's going to be a big matchup between them and this Texans defensive line. Now, let's go over to the Jags defense and look at my notes on them. I'm going to tell you how I think the Texans could possibly maybe exploit some things for this Jags defense, but also this Jags team, the defense, maybe a little bit better than what people are giving them credit for. Today's show is brought to you by Prize Picks, America's #1 daily fantasy sports app out there. Drewski loves it, and you will too. This episode is brought to you by Prize Picks. You and I make decisions every day, but on Prize Picks, being right can get you paid. Don't miss any of the excitement this season on Prize Picks, where it's good to be right. Prize Picks is super simple. Just pick more or less on 2 to 6 player stat projections. If you get your picks right, you can cash in and win up to 2,000 times your money. And I have my lineup set for Thursday night football. You can do the full screen. It's okay. This is what I got rolling with. We got Josh Allen. That Dolphins defense is horrific. 235.5 pass yards? Yeah. I'm taking the more on that. This is my demon pick. So demon picks, they're a little bit tougher to get, but the payout is a little bit more. Khalil Shakir, he's on my fantasy team, so I might as well take 0.5 rushing or receiving touchdowns for Khalil Shakir. Give me the more, and then Tua Tagovailoa. 234.5 pass yards. I will say, I think the Dolphins are going to be playing from behind in this game. So I'm going to go with the more on the passing yards for Tua, even though he has not had a good start to this season. You could use my lineup right here, or go ahead and make your own with our friends over at Prize Picks. It's the best way to win real money this football season. Which players are going off, which ones aren't. Make your picks in less than 60 seconds and turn your sports opinions into real money all season long. Prize Picks also puts their members first, so all withdrawals are fast, safe, and secure. Prize Picks offers Venmo, Apple Pay, MasterCard, and more for quick and easy deposits into your account this football season. Download the Prize Picks app today and use code CLNS to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. That's code CLNS to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. Prize Picks, it's good to be right. All right, let's look at the notes from the Jags versus Bengals game. I'm going to go on the defensive side. And the run defense was stout. And it's been stout this season for Jacksonville. I know only 2 games, but still, their run defense has been well. And I will say, I know a lot of people are saying, Jeremy, they were going up against the Bengals offensive line. Maybe one of the offensive lines in the NFL that is worse than the Houston Texans offensive line. And most of that game, the Bengals were without Joe Burrow. He got turf toe, was out for most of that game, so it was the backup who was in for Joe Burrow. But still, when you look at the past 2 weeks, neither team, the Bengals or the Carolina Panthers have been able to run on this Jags defense. And I don't think that's necessarily a fluke. Chase Brown, he was held to 2.9 yards per carry up against the Jags. 16 carries, 47 yards. You know, this is a guy who a lot of people were taking in the first couple rounds of their fantasy football drafts. He's been an explosive player for the Bengals, was not able to get going really up against the Jags in week 2. You go back to week 1, Chuba Hubbard, Chubba Bubba, Hubba Bubba, whatever you want to say. 16 carries, 57 yards. He was held to 3.6 yards per carry. So 2 running backs who are pretty decent, both held to under 4 yards per carry. That means this defense is doing something right. And maybe the strength of this entire defense is up front. They have 2 former first-round picks in Trayvon Walker and Josh Hines-Allen at defensive end. They also have, I believe Eric Armstead is another former first-round pick at defensive tackle. And then they have Devon Hamilton. They have a stout front. They run a 4-3, and these linemen get after it. So it's going to be tough for this Texans offense to move the ball and get things going up against Jacksonville in week 3. And I have a quick question for you. Before I talk about the secondary, before I talk about the Jags defense against the pass, what do you think is the best way to attack this Jags defense? If you were DeMeco Ryans, if you were Nick Caley, if you were on this Texans coaching staff, what would you say is the key? Would you say through the air or a little good old-fashioned ground and pound? Let me know down in the comment section how you personally would attack this Jags defense. All right, let's go to the last one, feast or famine versus the backup quarterback up against the Cincinnati Bengals. And that's kind of what it was, because the Jags were able to take the ball away. 3 interceptions up against the Cincinnati Bengals and their backup quarterback. And a little chat stat for you, a little chat sports stats. Jaguars lead the entire NFL in takeaways after 2 weeks with 6. 5 interceptions and 1 fumble recovery. So the Jags, they're definitely a, defense that is optimistic and a defense that is going to try to get the ball away from their opponent. And we've seen it throughout the first 2 weeks already. They are able to do that with the 5 interceptions. And it's not just one guy really doing it. They've kind of got it spread out all around. Foyesade Olakun, the linebacker, he's had an interception. Devin Lloyd has had an interception. Jordan Lewis, the free agent signing from the Dallas Cowboys this offseason, he's had a pick. Former Texan Eric Murray has had an interception as well. And Andrew Wingard has had a pick for Jacksonville. And with that, it's that you see this. 2 linebackers with picks already. Their linebacking core is really good in pass coverage. Devin Lloyd and Olakun are both really good. And that means one thing. CJ needs to be smart. He needs to be smart with the football. I need CJ Stroud to take care of the pill for the Texans to win this week 3 matchup. A pivotal one, because I told y'all before, everybody thinks, oh, the Texans have the easiest route. They're in the AFC South, this, that, and the other. But the Indianapolis Colts are 2-0. The Jacksonville Jaguars are 1-1. Even though the Titans have lost their first 2 games, I don't think with a rookie quarterback, they've looked half bad. So this division's getting better. They're not as bad as they were last year. And this Texans team needs to step up to the challenge and face it week 3 up against the Jacksonville Jaguars. All right, that's all I have for you on today's show. If you want to give me a follow on social media, you can do so at Jeremy Chugs. My DMs are open. And if you want to hit that subscribe button, why not? You made it to the end of the video. Obviously, I'm doing something correct. Free Texans videos all year long. My promise to you is this. Hey, hit that subscribe button. If you don't like it in a week, all good. Unsubscribe. But let me prove to you why this is the #1 Texans channel here on YouTube.